never done a podcast in my life.
Really?
This will be my first time doing a podcast.
Let me show you how to do this.
Well,
What is this mic? This reminds me of
these
you
are cool.
last night.
Wow. Did you really just say that?
They'll edit it out.
That reminds me of you last night. I mean, you were wanting to go for an hour. I didn't have it in me. I was trying, but
I give up.
Good thing is my hands are good for a long time. So,
Okay.
all right. That's for sure going in the show. Hello, my name is Garrett J White, the founder of Wake Up Warrior, and I'm here with my lovely hostess with the mostest, compadre and
We haven't
partner.
been in an actual podcast studio in a long time.
No.
We did our new first podcast at our home.
Yeah, well, how did that go down? Did you like that?
I thought it was good. The audio was a bit iffy.
The audio is shitty.
You know what?
Let's call it what it was.
But you know what's so funny is I showed up for a team meeting that I wasn't invited to.
And then here we're doing a podcast.
And then I was like, let's do a podcast because it's in the same meeting room.
So here's the deal. I'm going to give a shout out to this person will know who they are, but I'm not going to say their name. They had I just did a call today with a young man, 27. I say young. I like that I'm 45 and I can call him a young man.
You've been wanting to be 60 for your
I'm
entire
like, listen
life.
here. Well, his own comments were, I'm actually close to your son's age at 22. I said, yeah, but you're established much further down the path than my son right now. My son's 22, not even a prospect for a girlfriend.
Well,
and he's 27,
he's
married,
22
and he's got
going
3
on
kids.
17.
He is. He's getting it figured out, though. So anyways, like I had the conversation with this guy, and he said that his marriage was in a frustrating place, and they weren't going to get divorced. There was none of that going on, but sex was not happening for a long time, almost a year. And they loved each other, but there were just some discontentment and frustration.
Even when we were in like not a good space, like I don't think we would be married if we didn't have sex for a year.
They were doing other things. Just weren't having sex. Anyways, here's the thing. The reason I bring up though is that the solution to their problems was not go to sex therapy. Guess what it was?
What?
Listen to Date Your Wife, the podcast.
No.
Why do you think that we're able to give people that kind of healing? That's healing to start having sex again. That's a big deal.
You know what?
It's a big fucking deal to do that.
I feel like we're just pretty real with things. Maybe. I don't know.
I think we create opportunities for people to talk about things. Mm-hmm. So in the spirit of talking about things, let's talk about how your sex game is leveled up big time.
I was wondering why you want to talk about.
Well, I don't know, but you need to talk right into that microphone.
This mic, I'm telling you.
No, you need to adjust. It's not a limp dick. Here, hold on. You just adjust it right there. See, that works right there. Perfect. Okay, so let's talk about your sex game in the last year and a half, because your sex game has definitely gone through the roof.
You've gone through the roof.
I've shot through the roof. Listen, let's talk about it though, because you went down a fitness thing, and you started doing
help.
body. No, it didn't just little help. It's like the sexual monster that I've wanted to be dominated by. The woman who tells me I conquered you, which is the statement that you used here about a month ago. We just ended having sex, and you were like,
I didn't say conquered you.
You said I conquered
own
you.
No,
No.
I said I own you.
No. Own would be like nice. You said I conquered
Either way,
you.
I conquered and own you. You are welcome.
Well, let's talk about it. Like you took on fitness and it affected your sexuality.
You know
Why?
You know what? I don't know. I think I used to be in this place where I was like, oh, I don't want to have sex with the lights on and this and that. But I don't think it was necessarily just about me. I don't think I liked having sex with you for a while. I don't know how else to say it. And then, like, when I liked you, and then I liked me, and then I got really unfit, I was like, we should have sex all over with all the lights on all the time.
Okay. So we face 2 major issues. Issue number 1 is I don't want to have to look at you when I'm having sex with you.
I didn't want to be intimate with you. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's like sex, and then there's like intimate sex, and I was like,
what's the difference between sex and intimate sex?
Because I hate when people are like, we're intimate. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what is it? Sometimes you just have sex, and sometimes you have intimate sex. So,
okay, what's the difference though? You still haven't defined it. Give me an example of what sex is that's not intimate.
I mean, there was years where all we had was just sex, and it was just like checking it off the list, and it was like.
Did you ever like it during that time period?
I did, but it wasn't intimate. Like, of course, like...
You were just going to get off, but it was like...
It wasn't...
I could get off. This could be any guy.
I mean, it was just like sex, yeah.
Did
so
you ever?
intimacy is like you cross the other line for that other person, and like it's fun.
Did you ever? I know this wasn't really a big thing for you. Was a vibrator ever a thing for you?
No.
No, it never was a thing for you. Some women it's a thing for. Some guys it's a thing
Married
for.
women?
Yeah, married
I
women.
feel like I have my own personal.
Yeah, well, I'm your own. Exactly. Did you hear that? I have my own personal vibrator. See, that is the problem. When you have sex without intimacy, I'm a personal vibrator. I see how this is working. Well, don't worry. The term that I use for it on our side as a guy was vaginal masturbation, which was like when there's no intimacy.
I just feel like I go into shut-off mode. Like, I don't even allow myself to have fun. Like, so for me, and I don't know if any other women feel like this, like, if I'm not connecting to you, like, we'll have sex to have sex, but, like, I kind of, like, I hold my emotions and I hold my vulnerability. And
that's what you hold the most.
yeah,
Your vulnerability.
I was gonna say I don't let myself even like enjoy it or have fun. It's just like, okay, get off, have fun, like have sex.
Okay, so we had two things happening. One, we had a change in how you were seeing me. So that was one thing. And the second one was a change in how you were seeing you. So when did you start seeing me differently to where you're like, hey, we don't need two comforters. The windshields, the shades can be up. We can have sex with the lights on. I'm going to tease you and play the game. Like this happened a few years back. Did this? I mean, this was happening a bit before the baby was born, but it's happening way more after the baby's born, which I think has to do with you seeing you. But let's come back to you seeing me. What changed?
I think I liked you again. It was so funny. We were filming a sales documentary at our home, and you weren't in the room because Jeremy was
doing his magic.
Interviewing me, and he was just like asking. We were just like talking about Isla and all this stuff, and I was like, it's funny. Like when I got to this place, I didn't want to be married to you, and that's why we had such a big gap. We had like an 8-year gap, and then it got to this place where I even feel like with Ruby. Because, and I know you've shared this, so I can share it on a podcast, but like that's when we had some issues, like when I was pregnant with Ruby.
Yeah, that was when I cheated.
And I was like 9 months pregnant, and I even think back to when I got pregnant with Ruby. It wasn't because I I just felt like I was like, oh, it's been that amount of time, it's time to have the next kid. And I don't even think I really was connecting with you when I got pregnant with Ruby. You know what I mean? And so.
Which is weird because I think back to that.
But
I don't remember feeling
my
really
point is
either.
like with Isla, it was definitely like I got to this place where I'm like, I want to have your babies. Like that's when I knew I like wanted to be married. So I was like, I want your babies in me.
Well, we had two things happen. Number one, we purchased a home, which we hadn't purchased a home in 10 years. We'd just been leasing because I think both of us were like, we don't know if it's going to work out.
Yeah.
And so we bought the home, and
I
then
remember
we got.
you were telling me you were committed. You're like, finally, like divorce was off the table, and you told me like you're like, I'm committed, and that was like the last piece of the puzzle because you were like even backpedaling into buying our house before we bought our house now, and you were like melting down, and I was like, motherfucker, like you say you're committed. This is. I know you're like, oh, you don't need a house and this and that, but then at the time you were talking about buying a Lambo, and I was like, live in your fucking Lambo. I was like.
I remember that. You were, when I think back on it, it does make a lot of sense.
It doesn't seem like the smart.
No, it does make a lot of sense what you were saying.
But
at the
you
time,
felt
I didn't
like
really
I
want
was
to hear
trying
it.
to control you.
Yeah.
I was like, are you serious? But to me, I was like, let me get this straight. You're going to go buy a $500,000 car, but you won't put a down payment on a home. I was like, I need you to look at your priorities here. But obviously, we know how that went. We got the house, and then a year later, you were like, I'm getting my Lambo. And I was like,
we did. So we got the house in 2017. We bought it. That was a big shift. I got the Lambo, which was a big shift.
Now you're like over the Lambo.
I drove the Lambo today. I like the Lambo. I just decided that I'd rather have a vehicle that I can put all of my kids in at once. I'm becoming that fucking guy.
You're so responsible.
I mean, I'm becoming that fucking guy. I'm like, what do you want? I want a really nice
stability,
SUV.
I want a nice home.
I want comfortable
shoes. I want a retirement
shoes.
plan. I'm like, oh, talk dirty to me.
I want to golf on
dirty
Tuesday with Bobby. All right, so like so you have a change. So you change the way you're looking at me, but then you have and sex definitely gets a lot better. A lot better. You're having more fun. I'm having more fun.
Somebody's having fun.
Both of us are having fun. But then the quantum game happens. You give
can't
birth
even look at me straight right now.
I can't because all I can think of is you naked in like 1,000 positions.
Okay.
So like here's the thing, like you changed how you saw yourself. Because you always thought, hey, I'm an attractive girl.
I think like I said, I was more willing to be more vulnerable around you because I felt like we like gained that spark back, and I was like, hey, I'm yours. here you go. You can have whatever piece of me you want.
Yeah, then that was the first time. And at the same time, you want to conquer me, which is great. You're like, I want to conquer you, and it's all yours.
You know what I realized? We got married young, and I realized I was like withholding sex, and you felt like it was like a control thing, and it probably was. And then I realized I'm like how much power women actually have with the sex card, and then I was like, I could literally have this to my advantage.
That's bullshit.
But I don't.
It's a great gift, but it's bullshit. We talked about this on the last show when you come in to sit naked on the keyboard in the office of the house. It's like, what power do I have against this?
But sometimes I'll be like, oh, I can get what I want if I approach it this way. But then sometimes I don't. So sometimes I feel like I'm like, I come and seduce you or whatever. And then like this happened actually recently. And then like you were still kind of an asshole. I'm like, let me get this straight. Like, I'm really crossing the line in so many ways, and you're still being rude. Yeah. And even recently, I'm sure people know about the stack, and I was so frustrated because it was recently you send me a stack, and then you come in the next morning and you give me a kiss, and I was like, no, we get to have a conversation. You don't get to just send me your stack and think that I forgot about the mean words you said to me. Like, no.
Oh, yeah,
and
that was a little rough.
I always have this theory, like, where I ask myself, like, Danielle, how do you get what you want? And so sometimes I feel like I'm the one that's quick to not fold, but like just be like, I don't care. That doesn't matter anymore. Like, I love you. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this was like the one time that I felt like I'm like, okay, I crossed the line. Oh, fuck.
There went a Red Bull on the floor. Sorry.
I'm telling you, like, I love you. It doesn't matter. And like, I just felt like, but I just think you were kind of frustrated with work and a lot of other stuff going on.
Yeah. I mean, we were on vacation for like 8 days, which
I think it was a combination of buying our new house.
Yeah, we just bought the house.
Going to Mexico for a week. Spending a lot of time together.
Spend a lot of time together.
Like you had a meltdown like this last time we bought our house, and I was
I'm still having a meltdown.
You're still having a meltdown?
Yeah, I'm still having a meltdown.
When does this meltdown end?
Well, let's continue to talk about why you changed how you saw yourself, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about my fucking meltdown. Because I had a meltdown the last home we bought, too. It's like this new level, new devil.
It's not that I changed how I saw myself. I changed how you saw me.
That is bullshit. Of course you changed how I saw you, but I always thought you're hot. I think you're hot even when you got big boobs and you're pregnant. Like, I like the big boobs. But you changed yourself. So let's own the fact that you hired a trainer, you went down the fitness path, you became a bikini competitor, you started knowing, you thought you were sexier.
I definitely thought I felt more comfortable. Like, I felt more comfortable. I always thought, I mean, I always felt pretty confident and comfortable, but I was like, all right, I worked pretty hard. And I think it's like, I was raised super conservative. We were both raised Mormon, and it was like your mom. I remember when we were dating, your mom was like, "Your girlfriend's wearing a bikini." I was like, "Yeah,"
and it was like a big triangle.
It was like It was like a super. Yeah, it was like. I
was trying to get you to wear thong bikini on a vacation with just you and I.
But that's what I'm saying.
But you wouldn't do it.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, then all of a sudden, I was like, I want to get fit, push my comfort zones. Like, let's just see where this goes. And so it became like not a big deal. I was like, it's just a muscly ass. Who cares?
It's just a muscly ass. In the young kids' terminology, they call that cake.
I know, but I have to remind myself that I have daughters, because I'm like, oh, like there was this like new gained certainty, and then all of a sudden my daughter that's 14 is like, well, Mom, you wore a thong. I'm like, I wore it for a bikini competition. No, Mom, you did fitness photos and you had underboob. I'm like, I did have underboob. I'm like, is that legal? Can I do that in photos? I mean,
you did, and it was beautiful.
I thought it was fun. I mean,
and you did an amazing boudoir photo shoot for me.
I know, and that was actually pretty.
Although most everyone on Instagram got to see it before I did, and I was getting texts from my friends saying, "Bro, I don't know how to say this, but your wife's hot, man." Like, no offense, right? I'm like, what are you talking about?
So
like, have you seen the photos?
I'm
like,
what? I was wearing less in my bikini shoot than I was in those boudoirs.
Oh, for sure.
But
no guy's going to send me a message about that. It's because you had the lingerie stocking things.
I know.
Even though you're mostly covered up.
I know. But my friend that's a photographer, like she was the one that's like, oh my God, can we do these photos? They're so cute. And she always gives me like good pricing. And so I promote her. So I posted the very conservative ones.
Well, whatever they were, they worked. We got the book for them. They were amazing. And we're going to come back to this. So you see yourself, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to tell you from the male perspective. And guys, gals out there, if you ever thought about doing the fitness thing, do it. For one simple reason, because the certainty and confidence in my wife, when you marry, I push babies out of my body. Incredible. I can never do that. 2, you have a situation of I'm a producer and I make great money. Awesome. 3, I'm already attractive, but now I'm going to do fitness and I'm going to love my body. And 4, and this isn't like I eat cupcakes, I love my body. Like the fitness game is like, intense, like the amount of discipline for the nutrition, the weightlifting,
It was
etc. And
rough.
Danielle putting
what's
weight
so
on.
crazy is like, I was like, oh, everyone who I talked to was like, oh, it'll take you like 3 months, like because I lost the baby weight fairly quickly, and I was like, I want to like put back on muscle, and everyone's like, oh, it'd be good in like 3 months, but with 2020, everything I was training for a bikini prep from January clear till I finally did a show in September.
Oh, and you did amazing.
And I felt like I was pretty disciplined, like with my diet, my workout, because the thing is, I'd find a show and then I'd get canceled. I'd find a show and then I'd get canceled. I mean, I had a few moments where I was like, fuck it, I'm not doing it anymore. And then I was like, no, I got to do it. I've been training all year, and I finally did it. And I had really good results. I won in every category that I entered, and it was kind of like a rookie show. But I mean, there was like 50 girls, and I won top 3 in every category I entered. So now I'm like, okay, I'm actually training for another one this year. I want to get my pro card, but I don't know if I can.
That's a massive commitment.
I don't know if I can put on that.
You can do it.
I don't
but
think I
that's
can
a
put
massive
on that size. Like
You're going to put on like 10 more pounds of
I'm
muscle.
naturally like lean. It's like hard for me to put on muscle.
That's lots of chicken.
It's a shit ton of rice.
Shit ton of rice and tilapia. Tilapia. By the way, side note, what happened with our baby that was unexpected was that our daughter eats the best of any child we've ever had. Our child also has the best TV shows / YouTube shows she watches, called Coco Melon. Between Coco Melon and her diet, she is literally better than all of our other children were by the time they were 5.
I feed her chicken and rice and broccoli every day.
That's all she eats. She wants trees.
She's a little tank.
Trees. She just eats chicken, rice, fish, broccoli, and ice cream.
And ice cream.
She likes skinny cows.
That's my treat, okay?
So you go through this massive change physically in yourself.
But it wasn't just,
It was a massive internal certainty, though.
Right. And I guess I didn't notice too big of a difference.
Oh,
but
everybody around you noticed.
Really?
Oh, everybody.
Well, I mean, I feel good about it, and
I felt great about it. Well, like I told you, our sex life went to the roof. Like, this was when you were telling me you had conquered me. I mean, this is when you show up in high heels in a bedroom.
Is this the whole podcast?
This is the whole fucking podcast. We're just going there. So, like, I'm a huge fan of the fitness game because of the confidence and certainty, but the big delivery to me, if I say, what's the reward? Living my best fucking life is right. Like, there was a certainty and almost an edge of arrogance.
Yeah.
Sexual arrogance.
Again, you are welcome.
That was Danielle's date night. She planned last week. She texted me and said, here's what we're doing. First, which was weird. 2:30 tea time. I think
thinks we're going to have tea.
Fucking tea. That's weird. We're going to go have some tea at the...
You know what? Let's talk about date nights, because we do date nights once a week, and we did these even when we didn't even like each other.
Yeah.
And
This was quite the date night, though.
It was. We had tea time, which was golf tea time. Then I found
But I had been talking to a guy from London that day. So when you sent me the text, I'm thinking, we're having fucking tea time. That's weird. I've never had tea, but is it like liquored up tea? Like, what kind of tea is this? Like, is this tea that makes you see? Are we doing ayahuasca at lunch?
Tea. No.
I literally didn't realize you meant golf.
Yeah.
Tea time.
No, we were golfing. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes sense. You know, golfing instead of drinking tea, since we never do that. So we go golf, and then? And
then I found a company that does massages at your home. So I like set up like our whole master bedroom balcony basically like opens up to like the ocean. The ocean. It looks like you're in a super sweet hotel. So then I get like massage therapists to come. Then we went to my favorite steakhouse, and then we came home.
And you didn't bring a jacket.
And I didn't bring a jacket.
Yeah, because you always do that. Let's tell them about that. How many times would we leave to go to date night
thing,
and you don't bring a jacket?
I had this really
only
cute
to take
slip
my
dress.
jacket.
I had this really cute slip dress on, and I put on a blazer that had no sleeves, but it was cuter than like a coat. But then I ended up wearing your coat, so it really defeated the purpose of the outfit, except for the entrance into the restaurant. I looked hot.
You did look hot. And then for about 3 seconds as you sat down, realized we were all outside because of COVID.
I know.
And the heater was not going to be enough. And you had goosebumps all over the place. As much as like, nipples popping, that was not going to work long term. So I took my cool jacket. Mm-hmm. And you took the jacket, and then I sat there with nipples popping for the rest of the dinner.
Why would you wear a T-shirt?
Because I had a giant, awesome coat.
Okay.
You took?
That's great.
Why would you wear a T-shirt? Well, because you took the jacket.
That's a girl thing. Guys just always have an extra backup coat.
I need a backup jacket.
Yeah.
All right. So date nights were happening, but date nights have changed for us because, listen, I wanted to plan the date last week, but you didn't do it. You took over.
I get so bugged because guys' version of planning something is always last minute.
Not true.
Yes, it is.
No.
It's so true. So
Sometimes
usually when I plan date nights, I plan them on like Monday. So my brain just knows like Monday, it's Monday. It's Monday. You got to plan date night. And so we usually do date night on Friday or Saturday. And it's hard to get restaurant reservations, especially with everything that's going on right now. And I'm always trying to think of something different to do. And you always wait till, if we have a date on Saturday, there's been so many times, like Friday night, I'm like, do you have a reservation somewhere? You're like, no. I'm like, do you have plans?
So many
and
times.
You're like, so many plans.
Maybe
so
one,
many
maybe
plans.
on one hand.
But you know what? I've decided not
that.
to get irritated on the small things in life. And if I want exactly what I want, I'll just plan it and stop being irritated about it.
Well, thank you.
I want you to want to plan date night, but you
Thank
don't
you.
want to. And when you do, it's something weird. And I'm always like, I don't want to do that.
Here's the thing. Like buying you gifts, which was part of your love language, didn't work out so well because I didn't really know what to get. So then I would get stuff you wouldn't be happy. So then you take it back. So then you gave me a list now of what stuff to get.
We had this conversation I'm like, you would always try to buy me last minute something.
Yeah, I did.
You'd literally like go to the mall like Christmas Eve and buy whatever shoes.
It was kind of a status thing for me.
I don't know why. No, it was a lack of preparation and laziness.
True.
Yeah. But I finally was like, babe, I need you to stop going to, like, you need to plan ahead. And I was like, I'll never say no to diamonds.
2020, I did well.
So you slowly, now I feel like birthdays and holidays, like, you'll get me like a nice piece of jewelry or whatever. And
It took 20 years.
have a jewelry guy and it's fine. But you know, it's my favorite. And you actually haven't been, you're not like this anymore, but the grudgingly gifts.
Whoa,
Ooh, that
shit.
moves.
You just did that. Did you see that? The table just got a heart on, went straight up in the air. You must have said something right there.
I was like, yeah.
The grudgingly gifts?
Yeah.
I don't do that so much anymore.
You don't. The last time you did
Explain
that.
to them the grudgingly gifts.
The last time you did that was actually last Valentine's. And
no, it wasn't last. It was 2 Valentines ago.
2 Valentines ago. We were at
You were pregnant.
No, I wasn't pregnant.
It was before you got pregnant.
No, I was
Why the
not.
hell's this going
What
up right
is
now?
going on? Stop.
Push it down.
I wasn't pregnant. It was last.
We were doing a Date Your Wife podcast when I got you the earrings.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. It was last.
I did it twice?
Yes, we were in the Dior store.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I like you hadn't
was a year ago.
you got me some like cute lingerie, but let's be real, that lingerie is a gift for you, not necessarily a gift for me. So then we go into the
True.
Dior store and I'm like looking at some shoes and your energy was so weird and you were like, "Ah," and I was like, gosh, I get them, and you're like, I mean you have a lot of shoes. I was like, I'll take 2 pairs of those ones and those ones.
Oh, you're such a bitch, too,
I'll take
because
both.
later we find out.
And then I was like,
I
babe.
mean that in all the best
and then
ways.
I was
And
like,
then you
babe,
tell me later.
No, I go, do you want, I can use my card. Do you want me at the register? And you then, which even pissed you off even more because you're like, no, babe, it's Valentine's Day. I got them. I'm like, both pairs? Are you sure? Should I grab another?
You kidding me? You did that to me in Mexico with the
I
tequila,
know,
too.
I know.
So you cornered me in the
Well,
situation.
Don't act like an asshole and I won't treat you like an asshole.
So she didn't even want the other pair. She literally just said both pairs because she wanted to stick
I've
it
only
to me.
worn them once. I don't
Yeah,
like
well,
them.
I don't know any shoes you wear more than once.
I wear them a lot.
Some of your shoes. Most of your shoes you wear
But
once.
I was like, cause the reason I was so bugged is because this was after Isla was born, and I felt like we had like. I hate it when I feel like we've come really far with a lot of things, and then something.
I regress.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I do the same thing, but that
You
was
do.
like one moment that I was like, oh, really? Okay.
That was my moment of regression. I
Yeah.
did regress. I was feeling sorry. It is what happens, right? So part of the struggle from my mind forever has been pouring money into my wife and my family into art things like this is a investment,
Waste.
right? So part of my mind is, what is the ROI on this? So my mind like does some weird math. It starts calculating how many shoes I know are in the closet, how many she doesn't wear. I'm looking at the shoes. I'm thinking she's gonna wear these one time. Take a picture of them on Instagram.
My mind does that same
Bam.
thing. I start
$1,200,
calculating
2
the
pairs of shoes
Lambo
gone later.
payment and other
you?
surfboard pay, and I'm like,
Surfboards. That was a
And
bad
then-
example.
okay, surfboards are
Surfboards,
bad,
the cheapest
but-
sport
but-
in the world.
Okay, technology
Only
shit.
thing cheaper is rubber band collections.
Car payments, and I'm like, okay, if we put this in perspective, and I think when you do look at things in perspective, I'm like, hey, like you pay this much for your car. Like Valentine's is once a year. We go on like 3 vacations a year. Like, cause I think it's hard, and maybe it's hard for a lot of men to like spend money on like certain things, but you have to like, if you go into it with weird energy, then women feel kind of guilty and are like, no, I don't need it, but I
Yeah.
really want it. And then it kind of like fucks up the whole experience.
It made it worse. It was like,
So you have to look at things like that with perspective, whether it's gifts or vacations or whatever it is. Like, you have to like where else are you spending money where you're like, I have no issue at, like spending money on this, but then something that means a lot to my family, that means a lot to my wife, that only happens 2 to 3 times a year. If you look at what you spend on that versus what you're spending on something that you don't put 2 seconds of a thought into it, you're kind of like, oh, okay, well, maybe I can cross the line and maybe I need to like let go of this weird energy.
Well, the thing with it too is like, I mean
it's like
dealing
that,
with a story change, right?
Well, you're talking about me and how did you like level up with sex and all this stuff? And I'm like, yeah, I had to like tell myself like this is important to my husband, and in so like I started to enjoy it too, right?
Yeah.
And so
I did that with jewelry.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying like
it did take me almost 20 years to get there.
Ways. It goes both ways. So you're like, how did you get there? Specifically, stop in the beginning of the show, like sexually, and I was just like, I just like submitted. I was like, okay, and then like the more I submitted, the more I was like, this is fucking awesome. So I don't know if you feel that way if you like buying me gifts or.
I do.
I mean, I think you realize like the exchange.
Well, the exchange is valuable, right? I mean, it's like we've talked about it before, like our contract we made back in the day. That was like our indecent proposal.
But you know what else I was even thinking? Like I remember when we first started this podcast and we started a show, we called it Quickie Porn Star.
Oh, Quickie.
We don't even do that anymore. It's just always
pretty much porn star.
Because that sounds cheap. It's just like
well, that was coming from your own analogy.
I know,
quickie porn star.
But even that, like it was funny. Then go back and find that episode. I think it's
that
titled.
Is actually interesting because when you typed quickie porn star, it was a revolutionary show.
It was, but now I even think back and I'm like, no, it's always good. It's not really.
It's always kind of like porn star, but it's not. I think what we're saying. I think what we meant by porn star is like there's intimate connection.
Yeah, yeah. It's like fun. It's like
That's kind of like saying jumbo shrimp though, because you have like intimate connection and porn star. And you're like that probably doesn't go together.
No,
that's all right. This is a good analogy. We're rolling with it. So here is a piece that we're going to add from the framework of the 5 for the show today. So the jump that we made in 2017 was a jump from stage number 3 in the 5-stage of relationship: seduction, again, to strangulation, to suffocation, right? So if you haven't looked at divorceyourwife.com, you can check that video out over there where I walk through these 5 stages, about an hour-long video. I think will be really useful to you. The jump for us was across the void, which was divorce our storylines, divorce ourselves as individuals to make it to the submission phase. Because that's what you just said. You said you submitted. And I had to submit too. Right here's the thing. If I had it my way, I would have fought
to get what you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would have fought to be just really good. But it was weird, like with money, because like money for me was a weird thing growing up. I didn't have there wasn't any pursuit for it. And Danielle's been like my trigger to keep pushing, and it became a game.
It's not even about
me.
money; it's about growth, though. And I think that money is the tool that is a result of your growth.
But I didn't see that growing. I didn't see that in the beginning of our relationship, right? So I felt used, and I felt like, oh my God, I'm an ATM machine. But I actually came to terms with that. I was like, at a certain level, I am an ATM machine. And what's wrong with that, right? At a certain level, you were
I think that women want to be taken care of, but I'm pretty independent. Like I never wanted.
You're very established now.
Well, but even in the very beginning when we were married, I was like, I will always work. I'm like, but it wasn't even that I had to work. I hated the idea of like having somebody tell me like, you can spend money on this, you can't spend money on that. Like I wanted to be able to, I was just very independent. I was like, no, like I want to be able to contribute. I want to be able to like purchase things. Obviously, I wouldn't purchase things if it put our family at risk and things like that. But I wanted to be able to like not feel. I wanted to keep my independence, I guess you could say.
That's hard for some women. It's hard for like stay-at-home moms, some other individuals who just don't, either they have a storyline want to go or they don't. I watch guys control women like crazy like this, where they have to check with them on everything. Like,
I don't think I would have a problem with it now. Like even if I didn't work now, I don't think I would have as much of a problem, especially because we have kids and managing the home and like that's a full-time thing. Yeah. So I don't think I would have like the same feelings of like, oh, I can't spend this and this. Like obviously I wouldn't spend things that puts our family in jeopardy or anything like that. But I think getting married at a young age and not having kids, I was like, I'll always work. I want like that's just part of who I am.
Yeah, you spent some money here in the last 24 hours.
I did?
On 2 things.
What did I spend?
2 items.
What did I buy?
2 assets.
What?
2 assets.
What are you talking about?
Oh, you know. One deals with building your assets, and the other deals with jumping with your assets.
Oh, I bought a trampoline.
Yes, we did, ladies and gentlemen. A fucking lean.
This podcast is weird.
No, it's not weird at all.
All over the place.
That's not all over the place at all. People are definitely following this. You're just not. That's weird because you're the co-host.
I feel like I'm trying to circle this back around.
No. I circle this around every time.
God,
we're going
rusty?
forward.
Are we a little rusty at
We're
our podcast?
not rusty at all.
Okay.
Not rusty. You told them how good we are in the sex game now. So anyways, the trampoline was a big purchase. You also purchased a Smith machine.
I know. I'm turning my downstairs into like a jungle gym. It's going to be great. I'm like,
yeah,
warm up on the
jungle gym.
trampoline, then I'm going to go over and lift some weights.
Yeah. Well, our daughter jumps on her little bouncy house, and she's fallen in love with jumping, and she's the only kid that hasn't had a trampoline. So we finally have a yard that we can make a trampoline happen.
I know, it's cute.
So this whole process, let's bring some point to this whole fucking show. Like the show has 2 points, right? Point number 1 is this. In order for you to grow, you're going to have to let go. So we're going to say this every single time. One of the best ways to let go and grow is inside the Wake Up Warrior Challenge. We have one of those happening every 2 weeks. We have a new challenge starting. We're here right now at the time we're recording the show. Challenge number 9 is currently underway. Challenge number 10 is currently taking seats. We'd love to have you part of that. About 500 to 600 individuals, men and women, join us in the Wake Up Warrior Challenge every 2 weeks. We're going to teach the art and science of the Warrior's way to having it all, which ultimately is science to put our relationship back together, as well as thousands of other couples just like you. You can check that out at wakeupwarriorchallenge.com. Now, we have another piece we talked about, divorceyourwife.com, where is that free video series I told you about. And that video series is ultimately going to walk you through the 5 stages of relationship. Again, seduction, which we're kind of entering back into. Seduction, strangulation, suffocation, submission, and salvation. Check that out if you want to learn more about that process. But our message for today is really, really simple, is that you are going to have to change.
So what's the secret sauce?
Of change?
Yeah.
The Warrior's way to have it all. So there you go. It's a literal sign. We don't have to give you some meme or some Instagram post and tell you, change, be better. Nope, just go to wakeupwarriorchallenge.com. But what can you do today? Well, we can have a conversation around date night, which is this. If you have something you want to do on date night, then schedule it.
Are you going to schedule that?
I have a lot of things I want to do on date night. You reject all of them, one of which is shooting guns.
Oh, my God.
And you never want to do it.
We went and did that one time, and I was like, I don't like that.
I wanted to bungee jump. You said no.
I went bungee jumping on our first date, and I'm terrified of heights. That's how much I liked you.
No, well, that's called false pretense.
Yeah.
You did the first date, you jumped, and now 20 years later, no jumping. All right, well, listen, somebody planned the date this week.
You know what's
Get
so
after
funny
your date.
Is what were they talking about in church yesterday?
A lot of stuff. The pastor's really
A
good.
lot of stuff, but I was like, I looked at you and I'm like, babe, you're my what was the word he was saying?
I'm the go guy.
No,
Yeah, I'm the go guy, and you're the thinker.
No, but like he was like, oh, never mind.
You need somebody who's like, you should look at your notes. Do you have notes?
No, I don't. But we started going back to church, and every week I'm like, that's so good. And like I usually write half of it down, and then
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. We're going to church here in Orange County. If you're in Orange County, check it out. Oceans Church. Really loving it. Pastor Mark's amazing, and we're having a great time there. So you have a wonderful week. We're proud of ourselves. This is episode number 2.
We're gonna come.
It's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, it's all over.
But,
we need some more reps. I was literally in the middle of a team meeting, and I was like, the podcast studio is right there. We don't have one for this week, and we missed one last week. We said we're gonna do it. We got to do it. So
all right, have a great week,
hope you guys found
guys.
some value in this, and we'll see you guys hopefully every week.
We'll see you next week. We may never see you, but you will see us.
You will see us.
Or you'll hear us. We may never hear you, but you'll hear us. Either way, have a great week. Get on your date nights. And
we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Ciao. Sayonara. See you.